Welcome to Back to Vet Podcast. I have here CEO of Mocha Enterprises, publisher and founder of Black El Paso Voices, Miss Monica Tucker. And for those that don't know, I used to be signed to her record label back in the day, back in 1999. Welcome to the podcast, Back to Vet.
Thank you. And it was an entertainment management company. Unfortunately, didn't get to the record label part yet.
I understand that. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how do you think helped shape you who you are today?
Okay. I'm originally from Aurora, Illinois. It's a town outside of Chicago, the Chicagoland area. Um, I grew up there. I'm proud to say I'm from the Midwest. I think some of the best come from the Midwest, especially when it comes to music and everything I do. I think so. When you say what shaped me, I definitely let people know. I am who I am because of where I'm from. With all the highs, the lows, it definitely shaped me. The way my mother raised me, there affected a lot of my decisions, in life and what I wanted to do. Of course, when you're young, you kind of, go the opposite way of what you know to be right. But it came full circle. It came back full circle, but it did shape who I was because of, the struggles, some of the struggles. Like I said, the highs and the lows, understanding about life. I learned all of that there. I was just reflecting on that actually. And before I even knew this was going to be a question, I talked to a few friends too, and we were like, "Did you ever think you'd be where you are in life now?" And we kind of went full circle. We took a different journey to get there, to get to where we are. But we still ended up uh, finding where we wanted to be in the beginning. When I finished high school, I had a goal. I wanted to, of course, I wanted to have a family. I wanted to help people. I always wanted to, have my own publication and all that stuff. So I took a roundabout way, but I'm here. I'll put it like that.
I understand that. Let's talk about your childhood a little bit. Is there a memorable childhood memory that you like to talk about, whether it's positive or negative?
Um, oh gosh, I have a few. I have a few. Some positive, some negative. The positive was more so just growing up with my mom. I always wanted to be around my mom. I had a pretty big family. I had older sister, two older brothers, and they were kind of like between 15 to 20 years older than the last five of my mom's children. So it was five of us still in the home, two sets of twins, and I was in the middle. Um, so uh, the positive memories was, just with my mom, regardless of what we didn't have, because we didn't have a lot. We would be considered what you call poor. And my mom had to stop working because she got hurt. So that took a different trajectory, for us. So we were those, children who had to wear the clothes of the older children, and pass them on down, so we didn't have a lot, but we were happy. We didn't realize all the sacrifices I think my mom made until we were much older because she didn't complain.
Let's talk about it.
So those were the happy times. We were always dancing and laughing. My mom always played music. That's what I remember. She always played music, from country to soul, everything. And I think that's where
Was
my
there
love for
anything you got your
music,
musical talent?
yes,
Yeah, I
that's
was
where
gonna
my
say
love
that's
for
what you
music
got
came
your
from.
music.
Some of the negative was just things, you heard and, from adults, around the way, and finding out that people will do some harmful things just to get to where they want to be. So, I kind of witnessed that, in, neighborhoods. And those things stood out to me. And that's when I said, oh, so not all adults are, on the up and up. And some those negative things, just seeing people hurt other people. It reminds me of that, and I think that's why I said I would always want to help people.
I understand that. You said you had some conversations with your friends. So how do you think your friends describe you?
Oh God, I think they would probably describe me as needing to take a break. But I think they would describe me as trustworthy, no nonsense, um, kind, honest. I think that's how they would, describe me.
Okay. Did you have any role models growing up, and who inspired you the most?
Growing up, and I'm gonna honestly say it was. I really would have to say my mom. I was one of those clingy children that just stayed by my mom, and every question I had, she asked. She answered. She answered every question I had. I was just a curious, inquisitive child. So I would say definitely my mom. Um, and I did have a cousin who I looked up to. She was an older cousin, so I just liked the way that she carried herself. She didn't take any mess from anybody, and she inspired me. She inspired me to take up for myself because I was really a shy child, as much as people find that hard to believe.
Oh,
I didn't
wow.
talk a lot, except for to
Oh,
my mom.
I would not have thought that. What are some of the things you like to do outside of your profession?
Outside of what I do now, because I do a lot. Some things have changed, since I last saw you. So, but I do still do a lot in my profession. But I've added some things, to that. But outside of that, um, I like to read, and I would like to write. I'm working on a series now. That's my focus right now. I'm working on a series about military life. Actually, military life from a spouse perspective and military youth perspective too. So that's mainly what I'm working on. Aside from reading, I love to watch comedies and dramas in my free time to relax. I'll put it like that. I'm learning to relax.
Anything specific as far as what you like to watch? Like any shows or
Um, oh gosh, anything that's action related and a comedy that's not too vulgar. I'll put it like that. I think, um, when you turn on the TV now, I did have a hard time finding some things to watch because everything was just laced with profanity. And for me, I'm like, can people talk or hold a conversation, without, all the
right.
vulgarity? So that was kind of hard to find. But I love action movies. I love um, the dramas, those that make you think. Those types of movies and shows that make you think. I still um, love anything that involves fight scenes and things like that. Military type of shows. The um, anything that's action related. Really, that's my favorite.
Okay. What's a fun or random fact about yourself that most people don't know about you?
A fun or random fact. um, I think I could be a private investigator. I think it's a random fact that I've always wanted to be a private investigator, and in some ways I am.
Nice. So let's talk about your entrepreneurship. As I said, we met back in '99 where I was signed to your
Yes,
Mocha Management Group.
yes.
So it's been a while since we connected through music. So we go back to when I was signed there. So what do you remember most about me about that time in your life
Oh
and
gosh,
that chapter
you
of the
were
music scene back then?
yes. One I remember, and everybody remembers. So whenever I say Raw, they're like, "Oh, Raw, the nice one. He was so nice and kind of reserved." He was nice, reserved.
Still
Um,
kind of the same
didn't
way.
talk a lot, but when you got on the mic, everybody was like, "Wait, what? That's him?" Because you were just
That was
genuine.
fun.
You were genuine. You were pleasant and peaceful to be around. But then
Absolutely.
some people were under the impression that, oh, he's so quiet. I wonder, what is he like? He's a rapper. And then when you got on the mic, it was a whole different, ball game. People were shocked.
Whole
I
different
think just
vibe, whole
because,
different story.
your demeanor was so kind.
I look, man, I miss those days. Looking back, how did those early days of managing artists shape your leadership style today?
Um, I think my leadership style back then is kind of the same today because I still require those who want my assistance or help to make sure that they do the work. Um, Even though I knew a lot about the industry, I wanted to make sure the educational part was there, that those that I assisted make they understood what they were doing from the business perspective. Because it's one thing to perform and get on stage, but I think people perform better when they understand what's happening behind the scene. So it's all about the education part for me. I still want to
Do
make
you miss
sure,
the hustle?
huh?
Do you miss the hustle and grind back then as compared to now?
Um, I miss it, but in a way, because as I'm older, I enjoy the relaxed mode of peace and slowing down and taking the time to do some things. When I think back then, I was like, wow, I was always on the go, but um so I do miss it. I miss meeting, all those different people. I miss, the artists and um just seeing those who have a dream to succeed in certain things and doing what they love to do. And I still manage people. I got back into management. I'll put it like that. Because I did stop for a while, after I had my daughter, who is now 24. But when I had got pregnant with my daughter, I said, okay, I got to slow down. And that's when I kind of stopped, with the management a little bit. I still help people, still educated people about the industry. I stayed up on what the industry was going on in the industry and what was happening and what people needed to know, but um, I kind of slowed down a little bit.
I understand. What made you take a chance on me back then, and what qualities were you looking for in artists that you signed?
I was looking for the quality. What I was looking for was genuineness. People who um, didn't plagiarize, because I was. If people remember me, they knew I was big on that. Look, don't take anybody else's work. Just do your own. Take your time. Those who had great stage presence, because that was one of the main things. And I think taking a chance on you, I was like, oh my gosh, he's so quiet, and is he gonna be okay on stage? And again, you were phenomenal. So I think taking that chance was in the the way that you flowed. You had a flow, that was different than I had heard before. So I like that, So it was that chance that was there, and just the look in your eyes was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it, and I'm ready to put in the work. And make it happen. And I didn't know if that was part of your military life that had you like that, or if it was just your upbringing. But taking the chance because you really looked and you felt it and you said it, that you were hungry for it and you were serious about
Yeah,
it.
I love hip
That's
hop. Like,
it was
it
so
was hip hop. I
serious.
grew up on it. Like, it's something
Yes.
that we did when we were kids, when we was in the lunchroom, just beatboxing in the lunchroom. Like,
Yes.
it's just something I loved, and it was just something that was
Yeah.
instilled in me. So
Yeah. You can tell that
I
it
do miss it
was,
from time to
yes.
time.
When you say instilled in you, that's what you reverberated, just from being around. Your thing was like, okay, we standing around here, but what we get ready to do? We get ready to work. So it was like you didn't treat it as a game. You knew that you really wanted it, just from your demeanor, the things that you said. If you were speaking or talking, it was literally about the industry, the lyrics, the music. So that's what made it genuine.
So I know you mentioned that you still manage talent. So what's the biggest change you've seen in the music industry since you managed us back in the day? Is it a big
Gosh,
change?
it's a huge
I
change.
know technology is different,
Back then,
but I'm
everybody
talking
was
about
so
it's
focused
strictly the
on
management.
the yes. So everybody was so focused on getting signed to a record label, back then. The industry has changed so much to where the focus is being your own record label, production company, because that's how much the industry has changed. Especially when you see just how the negative part of the industry, where artists were taken advantage of. They didn't get their due. They didn't get paid what they were worth. They were taken advantage of. For the big wigs. Those who really didn't listen to their music, but they wanted to get paid from them. So I think the biggest change is artists understanding that it's a business, actually understanding that it's a business, and seeing what those of us back in the day realized that you have to know your craft inside and out, but you got to know the back end. You know, you got to know that part too, so you wouldn't get taken advantage of. And that came full circle now because when you look at it, most artists, you know, they're under their own labels. You know, so I
Yeah,
think
they
that
building their
that was one of the,
following. It's like they
huh?
don't need the. It's like they don't need the record labels now. Like you build your own following, you don't need the
Exactly.
record label.
Exactly. You basically, that biggest change is everybody taking control of their career, their music career, and that's a good thing.
Let's talk about your publishing. So you're a publisher and founder of Black El Paso Voices. So what inspired you to step into the publishing world, and what vision did you have for it from the start?
Oh gosh, I've always been in the publishing world. Even gosh, ever since I think I was in kindergarten, I always
As you
said that
see
I
during the
would.
intro,
Yes,
during the intro, I still have the article that you did on me and Links.
yes. Oh gosh, that was my phase of let me just put something together. But you know, I've grown since then, especially when it came to because I really didn't like working with computers back then, believe it or not. But so I did those on my own. But I've grown since then. I embrace the change when it comes to technology and all that stuff. So I can teach graphic design and different things like that to bring it, to the modern to the modern world. But I've always been in publishing. Um, like I said, ever since I was young and wanted to. I said I would own my own magazines, newspapers because I felt that I had something to say, and I didn't like the way that um, people were saying it, in newspapers and magazines. That's what I think that got me started. I was like, I can do this. I know I can do this. But as time goes on, you think, okay, it's impossible. But it was a dream and a goal of mine. So wherever I went, especially coming here to El Paso, Fort Bliss, I incorporated that again. Before I met you, I had started a magazine. That one failed because I didn't think about it. I didn't put my business plan into action. But I said, I'll just do a newsletter because I still love music and I wanted to do something that highlighted musicians. And when I started managing, I was like, well,
Okay.
I'm gonna use those, interview those who I'm helping. So that's how that started here with Urban Groove. That was one of the
Okay.
first newsletters.
What's been one of the most memorable interviews or features you've published?
Back then or now?
Now,
Um, oh gosh, I've interviewed so many people. I would say one of the most memorable, um, probably now is speaking with some of the elders in the community. And one that stood out was Bishop Johnny Washington. She's here in El Paso. She was one of the leaders of the NAACP here. Um, and that's where my shift from, I still interviewed musicians, but of course, I got more into community. But she also loved music too. But just to hear her story about living here in El Paso, even from back in the day when there was segregation. So those stories, um, and she shared with me about musicians even who wanted to perform but had to perform in certain places and they couldn't because they couldn't perform where they wanted to because of the color of their skin. So hearing those stories, especially from those who are elders about what they had to go through just to even, work in their craft was amazing. There's still so much more that I can learn from her just from an interview, and I want to interview her again because you can only get so much out in one short interview. So that's where the
absolutely.
storytelling comes in, and where we have to use our platforms to be able to give people space. But she was one of the most memorable.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about life coaching. So you are a life coach. So is there a recent transformation or success story from your life coaching practice that really moved you?
Um, oh gosh, working with some of my clients. You mean? Um,
Yeah.
I have a few clients who they tell me that they want me to share their stories. I never shared their names, but they're okay with it. And I got into life coaching. I think again that full circle thing that I was telling you about, how you start off one way, when you're finishing high school and you're wanting to help people. So this was just another way for me to help people. And there are so many life coaches who are making millions, but it's not about the money for me. It's literally about helping people who want to pivot in life, to or find out why they aren't moving forward. So when it comes to the coaching part, I say I'm also a life consultant, because with coaching, you kind of help people to bring it out of themselves. But as a consultant, you can say, no, I think you should do it this way. So the whole goal is to just help people, because sometimes we get stuck at every age. I'm, 54. I'll be 54 July. So yes, and there's still so much that I can learn. So some of my clients are those who are in my age group. Some are in their 60s, 70s. Some are young. Everyone has something in them that they want to do differently. They just need some guidance on how to do it. And I believe that's a gift that God gave me, to be able to help people realize that and actualize that. So I don't know if I answered the
But you
whole
have so much
question.
life experience, especially no, you did, and you have
Okay.
so much life experience. So coming to
Oh
someone
gosh.
that can give them good advice
Yes.
is the way
The
to go.
the
It
lived
takes me into your
experience is the best.
yes, and it takes me into your future plans and a little bit of reflection. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice before launching all these roles like a CEO, publisher, life coach, what would it be?
Oh, listen to your mother. That would be my advice. I would have sat at her feet. I used to always sit next to my mom and just, listen to her, ask questions and hear what she said. And, sometimes I was like, okay, but then other times I was like, well, no, I think I'm going to do it my way. And when I did that, my life took a completely different turn when I didn't listen to her for that one time. And, but at the same time, um, again, it comes full circle. And, even though this script, it's a scripture, and it may not actually, when it comes to the exegetical, part of things in scripture, it may not go hand in hand with what I'm saying. But, and it's one called All Things Work Out for the Good of Those who love the Lord. Um, and again, it may not be the same, but I'm going to use it for this context, because even though I didn't listen, I wouldn't be here today where I am. I wouldn't have met you had I took another journey. You know what I mean? So I think God, that's grace. And God is like, okay, let me get her back on track. But had I not done what, I did, I wouldn't have been where I am right now.
I understand
So,
that. And for me, the biggest thing, I remember the holiday season, and we
mhm.
would go over there for Thanksgiving. And I remember you and your husband would always have the big turkey and the serving and the fixings and the sides, and we just sit there as one big happy family. Like to me, it
Yes.
was like, yeah, it was a management group, but it was family,
It was
and that's what I
family.
love. It
Yes.
was
It
family.
was family. Yes. I miss those days. Oh gosh. Some people, some people that I hadn't even remembered that were around others who I managed. They came up to me recently and they were like, "Do you remember me? You used to cook for us." And and I was like, I didn't remember them, but they used to. Then they told me they were with some other of the artists, some of the other rappers or singers, and they said you used to do this, and this, and you talked to us and you gave us time. And I was like, really? I didn't know that I had, that effect. And it's just because it's natural. It's not something you brag on. It's just something you do. And just hearing like you say that, sometimes I forget, oh my gosh, I did. We did have many days where we
No, it's
just,
like what you
got
said
together
earlier
and sat
about
around.
being genuine. Genuine people like to be around other genuine people. So that's
Yes.
why I loved about the Mocha Management Group.
Yeah. I
So
miss those
with all that
days.
being said, so how do you stay grounded wearing all or so many hats?
Um,
I know you put your love into God, and I know God has a lot to do with it.
yes. Um, it's God. And making sure that I listen to the people that God placed in my life. So I know a lot of people say, well, God said it. And you have to think about it. Well, in what way did God say it? He places people in your life so that you can hear him too. Because sometimes we're just not in a space to always completely hear from God because sometimes we don't want to
No.
hear it. But I think what keeps me grounded is, um, of course, the love of God, especially through other people. Because I know that God has said some things to me, and I kind of just said, okay. But then he sends those people back and says, I said this, just in case you're not listening to me. He sends those people to make sure that you hear him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm not sure if that
Signs of
makes
the
sense,
Lord.
but that's how much I love and appreciate God because He loves me so much that even if I miss it with Him telling me what to do, He's gonna send somebody else to make sure that I remember to maintain my peace and to
Yes.
remember to that I have to put myself above others, not above God, but above others, so that I won't lose myself and so that I won't crash out. You know what I mean? So that's what
Yes.
keeps me grounded, making sure that I stay connected to the Father by any means necessary.
I understand that. So, what's next for you? Any new ventures or dreams you're chasing?
Gosh, I need a vacation. I haven't taken a vacation. I haven't taken a vacation. I've been married 35 years, and I was just saying that we didn't even have a honeymoon. We haven't even taken a vacation. So what's getting ready to happen? My children are grown. My daughter just graduated with her master's in music. Um,
Nice.
my son is still a lover of music. He still remembers all of you. You know, I know you remember him when he was
Yes,
younger,
you
but
still.
yes,
Oh,
he's
wow.
still in music and entertainment. So what's next for me is continuing to do what God says. I'm going to be starting some things online based on what the Lord told me to do about sharing His word in a different way, a different way. And I'm helping my daughter, start her business, which is in the arts. So that's my focus right now. And of course, still doing my community work because I just want to be there for the community. My whole goal is to help to educate people and not get laxed when it comes to making sure that we grow with the city. So that's my goal right now. That's right now the immediate future, but eventually, I just want to. I love El Paso. I love El Paso. Next year will be 30 years that I've been here. As a military family, that's a long time. So,
A very long time.
I love El Paso. My daughter was born here. I know I want when it's time for me to leave, I'll come back. But I just want to be somewhere where I can sit on the porch and just relax. And El
Yeah.
Paso doesn't have
Yeah.
any porches, so that means I have to move and go somewhere else.
Well, where can people find you and your publishing on social media?
Okay. Well, I'm online. I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Monica Tucker. Well, on Instagram it's Mocha El Paso, and I have several different pages because of what I do. I do maintain pages for others, but also for myself with Black El Paso Voice. You can find me there, mostly Black El Paso Voice, and I also do some things that are multicultural, too, for El Paso women, but mainly is there, Black El Paso Voice. That's going to be the main place that you'll find me. And it's amazing because now we have a partnership with the city to do Juneteenth every year. So that's the focus right now. I want to be a vessel that helps, our people, our demographic. We live on the border. It's a multicultural city. Um, and I want to help educate other Black people too on the importance of embracing, other cultures as we live here on the border, and encouraging other cultures to understand our culture at the same time.
I understand. I I understand that. That is awesome. That is good stuff. Well, I appreciate you being a guest on Back to Vet podcast. As you know, I continue to honor the past, build the future, and serve the now. But the biggest thing I want to do, I want to bring you back, and I want to bring all the Mocha Management Group. And I'll bring
Oh,
Links on, and Shanta, and
oh
Cognac,
gosh.
and MC, and Howard, and we just sit here and have a
Yeah.
conversation.
I
Do
think
like
that
a
would be
Where Are
great.
They Now?
That would be great. Like a
Awesome.
family
Well, I
reunion.
appreciate you
We
coming
probably
on.
need to have a family reunion, in
Oh
person.
yeah, face to face. Yeah, I would like
Yes.
that. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Monica, and thank you for being a beacon out there in your community in El Paso because it is needed, much
Thank you.
needed. Our
I appreciate
communities
you for
need
having me
this.
on.
Thank you.